Hey, you're listening to Red Light Confessions After Dark. Red light means stop, but around here means stop pretending and start confessing. I am Uno, your host, and this is an 18 plus destination for honest, unfiltered conversation. No names, no identifying information, no judgment, just a safe space intended for anonymous storytelling and discussion, where we discuss stories, choices, secrets, mistakes, and situations people don't always feel comfortable talking about publicly. So the red light is on. Turn your lights down, turn the volume up, and let's hear a confession. Tonight's confession is actually brought to you under the title Moral Dilemma. Was I wrong? I typically what I do is on the show, I read the entire confession that was submitted over to me. I try not to take stuff out. So that way you get the full gist, and then we'll go from there. So, once again, tonight's confession is Moral Dilemma. The title of this confession is I slept with my boyfriend's best friend and I liked it. Scenario: I came out of an 8-year relationship where the last 2 years were open. After that relationship ended, I moved to a different city and eventually started dating someone new. Early on, I was upfront with the I was upfront with him about my views on relationship. I told him I was comfortable with a non monogamy and that I would probably prefer some form of openness over a traditional monogamous relationship. He had never been in an open relationship before, but he said he was open to it. He was actually even he was actually very curious. He would ask about my past experience and what I was comfortable with, and even whether I found any of our friends attractive. During one of those conversations, I casually mentioned a few people. One of them was his best friend, Cam. I didn't think much of it. A few weeks later, my boyfriend invited Cam over to my house. One thing led to another, and the three of us hooked up. After that, it wasn't just a one time thing. We hung out regularly, and sometimes things became sexual, and sometimes we just hung out as friends. There was never an expectation that this was turning into another relationship. We even had a group chat where the three of us would communicate, or three of us communicated. I made a point never to communicate privately with Cam outside of the group chat because he was my boyfriend's best friend, and I didn't want there to be any questions about what was happening. Apparently, that wasn't enough. My boyfriend became increasingly suspicious that Cam and I were secretly seeing each other without him. I later discovered that he had even put a GPS tracker on my vehicle because he wanted to know whether Cam and I were seeing each other behind his back. We weren't. Then one night, while my boyfriend and I were at his place, he said to me, I know Cam is your type because he reminds you of your ex before me. That turned into a huge argument. Eventually, he told me to get out of his house, so I did, and I never went back. About a week later, Cam called me. My now ex had apparently confronted him too, accusing the both of us of secretly hooking up behind his back. The whole situation exploded. Eventually, my now ex blocked both of us from his life. And here's where the confession actually begins. Within about a week of all of this happening, Cam and I met up. This time there was no boyfriend, there was no group chat, there was no three-person arrangement, just the two of us. We hooked up. We're not in a relationship, but we've continued seeing each other sexually on and off for more than a year and are good friends. Was I wrong? We never betrayed him while we were together. Cam and I weren't secretly hooking up. His suspicions weren't true when he made them. He ended the relationship with me and cut off his friendship with Cam. But then, almost immediately afterwards, we end up doing exactly what he had been paranoid about all along. So did we betray him after the fact? Or was or once he ended both relationships were Cam and I free to do whatever we want? And maybe the messiest question of all, does the fact that Cam and I eventually hooked up somehow validate what my ex suspected, even though it wasn't happening when he accused us? So we're gonna take this after listening to the story. We're gonna take this in pieces because there's two questions and a comment. Well, actually three questions. The first question is, was I wrong after listening to the story? In my opinion, and I'm no Cheyenne Bryant. Okay, I'm just letting y'all know I'm no Cheyenne Bryant. Um, I don't really think that this person was wrong for what they did. Because if your now ex ended the relationship between you and the best friend, first off, I don't think that it was wrong for you to have a sexual relationship with the best friend at the time that you was in a relationship with your boyfriend. Just because you explained it to your boyfriend at the time that you believe in having some form of openness. That's one. Secondly, the boyfriend also invited his best friend over to the house. Whether you knew what was going to happen or not, that's besides the point. Your best friend actually invited the best friend over to the house. So I don't necessarily think when it became a sexual relationship in that aspect as well that it was wrong. Oh, I got a whole thing on my. Anyways. So I don't think necessarily was wrong for you all to hook up in that aspect. Now, the other question that you have here, once they ended both relationship, were Cam and you free to do whatever you want? Yes. If y'all wanted to screw in the backseat of any one of y'all car after the relationship from the ex-boyfriend did with you as well as his own best friend, y'all are free to do whatever you want. Um, because you no longer have that commitment to that individual in a committed relationship. So I think people might disagree with me because it's a moral thing. My morals might be lacking. However, I think that you're okay to do as you please when you get into that relationship. The external relationship with the best friend. But if they were friends still, that would be a little tricky. I necessarily would not blame you if you were sleeping with the best friend, even though they're friends and your ex, because it's not you have the best friend has loyalty to him and not necessarily you have loyalty to the ex. So that's just my opinion. Um, so definitely, I would say that you and Cam was not wrong. Now, does the fact that Cam and I eventually hooked up somehow validate what my ex suspected, even though it was not happening? To a certain degree, yes. I feel like um, both of you invited that into the relationship because one, you're willing to be open, two, they brought the best friend over. But especially after a week, you know, it might be possible that even though you're saying it did not happen, and I can only trust what you're saying, right? So even though that you're saying that it did not happen while you were with that individual, the optics is that it's a possibility that you all was lusting after each other, especially after that week had ended. Well, after a week, y'all decided to actually start having um, sex. And then not only did y'all have sex, it's continuous sex. So in some way, the optics might look like whether it's the ex or the best friend, or whether it's somebody else looking at this and reading or listening to this whole story, the optics look like even though you're saying that it did not happen during the time of the relationship, the optics is like hey, it's a possibility. Now it's a 50-50 possibility that y'all probably was playing around. I'm not sure. Either way, I'm not here to judge nobody. You do as you please. Um, but yeah, overall, if it was me, I probably would tell you, and see part of the, I don't know. I feel like you all did exactly, not really what, I feel like you may have moved on quickly, but that's your right to move on quickly, because now this person has also invited chaos into both of y'all lives after accusing y'all and stuff like that. So whether you moved on with somebody else, whether you moved on to the best friend to have sex with, whatever, it is what it is. There's no need to change it at this point, especially if y'all actually enjoy each other's company. It's not like, based off the information you said, sometimes y'all hang out as friends, sometimes it's sexual. So if you got a good friend out of it, cool. um so yeah, I definitely don't judge this situation. If it was me now, I would tell you this. I probably would have probably done the same thing. I've been in relationships. See, I'll tell everybody this. I'm very much open to a open relationship with my partner. Um, because I know that I cannot be faithful. So I never invite somebody into my chaos knowing that I cannot be faithful. I can help take care of you, I can do all of that, but faithfulness is monogamy is not my thing. I've been in two bad relationships, so I've learned throughout the years of these two bad relationships that, and now mind you, the first relationship I didn't actually, the first relationship I didn't cheat in, but they did. And then the second relationship I cheated in, but they didn't. So, but it was a stressful time in my relationship because the individual was an alcoholic, basically. So yeah, but for me, because of those two situations, I've decided that, and after my last relationship, I've been single for what, going 12 years now. I know I don't look that old, but I've been single for going 12 years. And actually, after my last relationship, I decided I'm just gonna keep it as an open relationship. And so that way, if anyone that I choose to be with decide to step out of me, I have no reason to get upset. I'm not a jealous a person that gets upset, anyways, um, because I don't own nobody. I'm not married to nobody. None of that. So I don't own you. You can do as you please, and I feel the same way. When it comes to me, I'm not going to question about where you're going. I'm not going to do none of that. I'm just not that type of person. But yeah, if it was me, I probably would have moved on just as quick, whether it was with the best friend or somebody else. If I found the best friend attractive, I probably would have done it. Um, but I know myself, right? Um, so yeah, that's why I say I don't judge people's situation, because you never know what it is. So for me, if you ask me, because one of the things I'm in this episode that I typically do is, what's your I don't know if I'm gonna do that. So yeah, so right now, honestly, if you want to weigh in on this situation, I would love to hear from you. Just remember, this may be a confession this person wanted to be heard for clarity, or just a secret someone carried, and the conversation doesn't necessarily end here. I've already given my opinion. So after listening to this confession, what's your light and why? Um, you submit a good response as to why, I may go ahead and read your comment. So just remember, uh, when I say what's your light, red light, they were wrong. Yellow light, I'm neutral, I'm not sure. And then green light, they weren't wrong. So yeah, the lights is going off. Tell me what your confession is on the next episode. Okay. So thank